4 is all about developing self-compassion and coming into your heart space, or the ability to come back into your heart space. When we have self-compassion, when we have compassion for ourselves, we are able to be compassionate for all living beings. We are able to be empathetic, to put ourselves into other people's shoes, so that we have that empathy and that compassion and that understanding. And when we are able to do that for ourselves, we can do that for everybody else. And the practice of yoga is simply that, is to get to know your body, to get to know your mind, and to use the practices and the tools that are provided to us to keep coming back to our heart space. And the physical practices like our asana or our postures, that allows us to come back into our bodies. Our pranayama, our breathing techniques, allow us to also become embodied, calm down our nervous systems. But when we talk about our visualizations and meditations, those practices are brilliant for coming into the heart space, for turning off everything as we close our eyes and come back into our higher selves. So I always like to come back to the sentence, what would love do? And for me, that is everything about being in your heart space. And whenever I find myself in a tricky situation, I always say, what would love do? And whenever I have to make a decision that is tricky, I will meditate and I will do a yoga nidra or a visualization, a relaxation, to help me to come into that heart space, so that I can be existing in that place of love, in that love vibration, rather than reacting from my emotions. And so these practices, meditations and visualizations, are really important to bring us back into that heart space. And by giving these tools to our tweens and teens, allows them to have the ability to do the same. And that encourages that self-compassion, that encourages that love for oneself, that self-love, the ability to care for oneself. All of these techniques are self-care techniques. And to give these to our children and to our teens, our tweens, and for them to have these techniques at such a young age will be life-changing for such a young age, for a whole generation of children. And so teaching them the yoga class and by incorporating these practices in them will help them to really learn how to find that compassion, to care for themselves, and to come back to their heart space. And so meditating for this age is, we usually encourage sort of 1 to 5 minutes, depending on how much time you have. As they get older, you could see if they're able to last a little bit longer, maybe taking it up to 10 minutes. But it doesn't have to be very long. It doesn't have to go on forever. It's a very simple and short way, a short technique to get them into their minds, get them out of their external world and into their internal world. And so getting them to intertwine their fingers and thumbs to touch. This is mudra. This is a root chakra mudra. A really great way to bring them into their grounding. And so a mudra is a hand gesture, and it's the way that we get into the subtleties, the subtle energies of the chakras, of the energy centers. And so something as simple as this, a mudra, a hand gesture, will allow the children to ground. And so meditating for me is a very grounding practice, as well as a heart opening, or coming into the heart space. And so either using the root chakra, or perhaps coming into the heart chakra, the mudra. So it's thumbs to touch, pointy fingers to touch, and then you just sit that little sort of diamond shape by the heart. So either or, quite similar actually. Just have to flick your hand around, and depending on what the meditation is, depending on also where it is you want to start from. For example, perhaps starting the class from a grounded place where you have your hands, and then if you want to end off with your heart chakra, once they've stepped into that love space, that is also a great way to do it. Or perhaps if your class is simply about rooting, grounding, you can continue with this mudra throughout. And so we're going to practice this together so we can feel what it feels like to have that practice to bring us into our heart space. So coming into a comfortable seated position, bring your fingers intertwined, your thumbs to touch, rest your hands in your knees, nice and tall in your backs, close your eyes, breathing in the nose. If you want to sigh it out the mouth, you can. And just sitting there noticing as you breathe what's happening with your body. Noticing the parts of the body that are touching the floor. Noticing if you have any sensations or urges, and just allowing those sensations and urges to pass you by. The same with your thoughts. Just like cars in traffic, let those thoughts pass you by without any judgment, without any attachment. Just let them move along. And just taking a few more breaths here. And then gently come to open up your eyes. And just taking a moment to notice how you feel. Just that short couple of minutes of meditation, coming into your bodies, focusing your minds, how such a short time can shift so much. And then the other practices that we like to use, the visualizations and the yoga nidras. And so these are very powerful practices that really help us to get into our subconscious minds, to heal, to relax deeply. A yoga nidra is sleep yoga. And so it's helping us to deeply relax. And going through the visualizations also gives us, as the practitioners, time to focus on one thing. So we forget about anything else that's happening around us, and we focus on what it is that's being spoken to us through those visualizations. And now visualization can be done either seated or lying down. So if you're going to lie down, come and find yourself in a comfortable space. So I would suggest in your Shavasana position, your relaxation position, like a gingerbread man, I like to describe it. Wrapping yourselves in blankets, you can use eye pillows, dim the lights, and just set your space. Really important to set the space and set the tone so that you can feel comfortable. And in this practice, we're going to just do a simple visualization. So coming to lie down. As you let go of all the effort that you've put in today, letting go of all of the muscles in your body and in your face, letting go of your breath. Coming to completely relax. Your whole body is completely relaxed now. Your whole body is completely relaxed now. Your whole body is completely relaxed. And as you're lying there on the ground, feeling the earth beneath you, warm and safe, you feel grounded and you feel connected to Mother Earth. And as you feel that grounded and connected feeling, you start to imagine in your mind this beautiful pink-white light shining from your heart center, the center of your chest. And as the light shines without, all over your body, from within, covering you in a blanket of pure joy and love, you feel calm and happy. Imagining this pure white pink light covering you from within and without. And as you do so, you start to visualize in your mind yourself walking through a forest. And you're walking on this soft ground that feels soft and cooling on your feet. Around you are big, majestic trees, different greens. The sun shining through the tops of the trees, leading your way, taking you lower down into the depth of the forest. You continue to walk, spring in your step, until you get to the most beautiful tree you've ever seen. And this tree is huge. The roots are massive and they're going deep into the ground. The trunk is huge. You can't even wrap your arms around it. And it goes high into the sky that you cannot see the top. And as you get closer to this incredible tree, you notice there is this opening by the root into the ground. Curious, you go into that opening. And it's taking you lower and lower and deeper underground. And as you get deeper and deeper, it's darker and colder. But you want to see, you want to know what's down there underground. And you keep going, rooting, following the roots of this beautiful tree, feeling safe, trusting your intuition, trusting where this root is taking you. Holding the root to guide you and to keep you safe as you go lower and lower underground. And as you take your next step, you step into this big opening underground. Almost looks like a cave. And it looks like it's an underground treehouse with shelves made out of the branches and different crystals and plants that are kept there that have been decorated and created by somebody. And as you step deeper into this little opening, this little cave-like entrance, you find somebody there. And this person is you. This person is your wiser you. What do you look like? And you step towards yourself and you embrace yourself, you love yourself, and so excited to see each other. And your wiser you has a message. Perhaps it comes in a form of a gift, or perhaps it's an actual message, some piece of advice. Listening carefully and receiving the gift, you take in what your wiser self has to say and has to give. What is it? Taking the gift and receiving the message, you keep it safe. You decide it's time to go. And with a warm embrace, sending love and gratitude, you start to make your way back up the roots of the tree and back to solid ground, following the light from the sun as it shines through the canopies of the trees. Slowly, confidently, you make your way up the roots. Finally, coming to the top. And then slowly making your way back to where you came from, step by step. One foot in front of the other, mindfully, gracefully, and a little wiser. Coming back into your bodies. And just starting to, as you lie there, feel the earth beneath you. Feel the parts of the body that are connected to the ground. Feel that light covering you, shining from within and without. Just like that warm embrace from your wiser you. Gently wriggling your toes and your fingers. Gently circulating your wrists, your ankles. Maybe you stretch your arms over your head, take a nice yawn. And then roll into a tiny ball on your right side where you will spend some time to breathe and connect back to your body. Let the circulation settle. And then gently coming to sit in your easy pose, comfortable seated position. If it feels better, you can keep your eyes closed as you keep that feeling of being in your heart. Just coming back to that heart space. And perhaps now you can bring your hands into that heart mudra as you bring your fingers, your pointy fingers, your thumbs to touch right by the center of your chest. Close your eyes and breathing deep here. Taking a moment to reflect back on the messages that you may have received from your wiser you. And then joining your hands together in prayer for gratitude and for thanks. Namaste. And just coming to take a moment just to notice how you feel right now. The connection you have, the compassion, the self-compassion that you have, the softness that you have. And so using these practices of meditation and visualization to teach self-compassion so that we can continuously come back into our heart space.